if you are saving money, like stashing money away in a regular savings account, you are losing money every year. So you hear some people saying saving is losing, and I'm going to try and explain this to you today so that you understand the importance of making sure your money is not sitting in just the old school local bank account earning you less than 1% interest. Okay? So let's jump into this. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Freedom Factory podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little shift in the message from the last few weeks. We're going to be talking about finances today, money, and something that I hope all of you fully understand after this podcast is over. And that is if you are saving money, like stashing money away in a regular savings account, you are losing money every year. So you hear some people saying saving is losing, and I'm going to try and explain this to you today so that you understand the importance of making sure your money is not sitting in just the old school local bank account earning you less than 1% interest. Okay, so let's jump into this. In order to kind of set the stage, I need to tell you when everything changed. Okay. And it's easy for me to remember this because it was the year I was born. Just a few months before I was born, President Nixon at the time took the US dollar off of the gold standard. And so it was a decision that was made in August of 1971. And prior to that, the US dollar was backed by gold, literally gold. Okay. Well, after August of 1971, the US dollar had and still has no backing. And that changed everything for what you may have been taught as a child, especially if your grandparents taught your parents, right? 1971, maybe your parents were taught by their parents to save your money. Well, prior to 1971, it was basically like saving gold, kind of, because it was backed up by gold, right? But since then, no. And so let me kind of explain to you what's happened. Since 1971, the US dollar has eroded nearly 90% of its value. To put that into perspective, what the US dollar buys today, let me back that up. What you could buy in 1971 for a dollar. Okay, this is a better way of explaining it. What you could buy in 1971 for a dollar today costs $8.22. Think about that. What you could buy in 1971 for a dollar today it would cost you $8.22 to buy. So if you saved that dollar from 1971, you just put it in an envelope and you didn't spend it, but now you're ready to spend it, it's still a dollar, but it's only going to buy you what a tenth of what it would have bought you back in 1971. So let me give you some more numbers. Since 1971, there's a few ways to talk about this, but we'll just talk about the money supply around the world, okay? In August of 1971, there was roughly $685 billion in the world, around in savings accounts and circulation and investment accounts, 685 billion. Today, $23 trillion. You guys, that is 33 times higher. 33 times higher. Unbelievable. So the dollar's purchasing power, again, in 1971 was a dollar. Today, that is down 87.8%. So just call it 90%. This is why It is so important that you understand saving your money is losing money for you every year. Okay. Now, a couple of events happened that made the US government even put more money into circulation. Okay, so let's go back to the 2008 2009 financial crisis because this is what the US government does. When we get into financial trouble, a crisis, they simply create more digital currency. Okay, they literally put more money into the markets. In January of 2008, we had $7.5 trillion, dollars, okay, money supply around the world. 7.5. In December of '09, so basically 24 months later, within 24 months, that number went up by almost $1 billion. The US government in 24 months put nearly 995, almost a trillion. I messed that up. So they put nearly $1 trillion of new dollars into the market in just 24 months. Think about that. Like if there's something that's really valuable. I don't know what's going on with my voice today. If there's something that's really valuable, a diamond, and there's one of it, and then you turn around 2 years later and there's 20 of the same diamond, is that one diamond more valuable or less valuable? And the answer is simple. It's less valuable because there's more of it. You think about a collectible, right? A special car. If there's only one left in the world, that makes it very, very rare. But what if there's 20? It's less rare. It's less valuable. So the US dollar is becoming less valuable because they keep making more of it. I don't know how many ways I can say this for you that I hope you understand. Okay, now let's go to COVID, another world crisis. During COVID, the world's money supply, when it started, February of 2020, was $15 trillion. Dollars. When it ended 2 years later, 21.7 trillion. They added 6.3 trillion dollars to the markets. Just created the money, just out of the atmosphere, just created it, put it out there. And what did that do? It made your dollars less valuable and made things more expensive. So I hope you're starting to understand why this podcast is so important today. Because in the future, as things tighten down again, or when they tighten down again financially, do you know what the US government's going to do? And it's not just the US government, it's all governments around the world are doing this. All governments are literally, quote unquote, printing money. It's digital, really, but it's like fake money. Like people talk about all these things like they can't. I don't know if I can trust that. Well, I don't think you should be trusting the US dollar because there's someone behind the scenes who's just making more of it. And so for that reason, I want you guys to fully embrace the fact that you cannot just save your money in your old school bank account and think that you're doing okay financially. You are losing money if you're doing that every year. Okay. Some people will say at 6% minimum, you're losing every year just to inflation. Some are saying up to 13% a year. And so let's talk about some solutions now. Okay, that's the problem. Let's talk about some solutions. First thing is find a way to get your money into some high yield savings accounts. No less than 4%. You have plenty options at 4% and maybe even 5%. Okay. Be careful because I haven't seen, I mean, today, like we're in July of 2026, right? I haven't seen too many savings accounts that you can get more than 5% in. Once you go beyond that, you're typically locking your money up into CDs or annuities, which will give you a little bit more money, but your money is locked up for months, years, or many years. Okay. But that will typically give you a little bit more depending on your strategy and your age and how long you can afford to lock money up. Okay. So that's like the first two steps. First step, go find yourself a high interest savings account that has a good rating. Don't just throw it into any account. Do your research, okay? I was using Goldman Sachs online banking. I wired the money in, and they were over 4.5%, I believe, for a long time while I was using them. All right. A second thing that I have used, and this is a little bit more complicated, but making money is complicated and making it multiply is complicated. And, I think it's why a lot of people don't do these things because sometimes it gets like it becomes a little bit of work, but like you work really, really hard to get your money and save it, but then you're going to give up on the end right before the finish line and just throw your money in an account that's losing money over hand over fist. I just don't get it. Please take the extra time, guys, and do this. A step that I've taken is I use for some of our net worth, I use a life insurance policy, specifically a participating whole life, not just whole life, because some people say, oh, whole life, that's horrible. It's participating whole life. Okay. And that allows me to build cash value and create my own type bank, my own banking. What do I mean by that? Some of you have heard me say that this rental property that we bought last year that I use my own money for, and it came out of the life insurance policy. So I didn't have to go to a bank and ask permission for the money. I didn't have to qualify for the money. I didn't have to have a credit check for the money. I didn't have to have any of that. I just went to my life insurance policy and said, I need this money. Give it to me, like wire it to me. And they did within 3 days. And that money, okay, I got the loan at 6% interest, but that money is that's in the account, right? Stayed there. I didn't pull it out. I took a loan against it at basically 6% interest. So it's a wash. So literally, I've got a loan on an investment home at a 0% interest. Okay. Now I'll put that money back in, and that money that I put in, or any extra money that I put in every month, every quarter, is growing right now at just over, I think it's 6.6% interest. Okay. That is a very, very safe place to park money, especially with these insurance companies that have been around for over 100 years operating this exact strategy with participating whole life. All right. Now, beyond that, we now have companies that are offering dividends through, well, simply what's companies that are being backed by Bitcoin. All right. And I've talked to you guys a little bit about this. And again, guys, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you advice right now. This is simply for your financial entertainment. Okay. But there's two companies specifically you need to know about and research. One is called Strategy, formerly known MicroStrategy. Okay, they are a multi-billion dollar company. In fact, while I'm talking to you, let's see if I can pull up some statistics. Okay, right now they are worth $35 billion. MicroStrategy is worth $35 billion, and they have a variable rate perpetual stock, preferred stock that is currently paying 12% dividends on an annual basis. So 1% a month. 1% a month, not a year. Most bank accounts at your local banks are paying 1% or less a year. These guys are paying 1% a month. Okay? Now, does it have some risk? Yes. If this company goes bankrupt, you lose your money. Okay? Now, do your research, but this company is on the NASDAQ and it's worth $35 billion or so. And that stock that I just told you about, they've got about $30 billion in that account right now, where people have invested $30 billion for the dividends. All right. There's another company that is doing the exact same thing that Strategy is doing, but a much smaller company. That company is called Strive. And they have a preferred stock called SATA, SATA. And same thing, it's a variable rate. They're actually paying 13.5%. So they're paying even more percent percentage than strategy is. Right now, again, more risk, much smaller company. Let's see, these guys are worth just under $1 billion, 890 million. Strategy's worth what I say, 35 billion. So much bigger company, much more money behind them. And many people would say a safer place to park your money. Okay. And so these are two places that if you have a little bit of risk tolerance, you can park your money there. And now you're doing very well when you're comparing inflation and what the US government and all the governments are doing with money and just printing more money. You're staying ahead of the game now. Your money is outpacing how much it's losing in value. There's a term called debasement. And so you're hearing some people now talk about the US dollar being debased. And that's basically the same thing I've been telling you guys now is that every year the dollar is worth less and less and less and less. And so for all of you that are part of this whole movement, right, the Freedom Factory, a big part of your financial future is your savings accounts and how you're going to use this money to be able to give you the lifestyle that you want to have, the security you want to have, the peace of mind that everybody needs. I mean, money's a necessity, right? You guys, we don't have to worry about any of this as soon as people stop needing money for things. Like as soon as you can have a car without money or a house without money or food without money or clothes without money, as soon as you can have all that without money, hey, we don't have to worry about this. You guys get what I'm saying here? You got to worry about it, okay? And so have a plan. Have a plan. And there's other places. I will say this, just do your research, guys. Don't just listen to me. Do your research. I have put in hours and hours and hours and hours of research, watching videos, studying, asking questions before I park my money anywhere. But I just wanted my audience to be aware, and I'm going to continue to remind you of this. Do not park your money in just a simple savings account. You're losing money. For that reason, like, my own home, I could have paid the mortgage off a long time ago. But I refinanced my house back when mortgages were under 3%. My mortgage is under 3%, and I'm growing it at 13%. So if I'd have taken, let's just take a round number, 100 grand. That's not the number, but if I'd have just taken the number, taken that 100 grand and paid my mortgage off, okay, great. My mortgage is paid off. But I had 100 grand, or that's the example, right? Loaned to me at less than 3% interest. And I'm taking that 100 grand instead of me giving it to the bank that held the mortgage on my house, and I give it over to one of these companies or my insurance that is growing at 6% or 12% or 13%. That's easy math, right? At 6%, my money's growing twice as fast. And at 13%, do the math, guys. I'm way outpacing. I am making money by not paying my mortgage off. Okay. Again, each one of you have your own tolerance for risk and what makes you sleep well at night. If paying your house off makes you sleep well at night, fantastic. My solution is go park that money in an account that you can put your hands on within 24 or 48 hours. And just know that if you ever have to pay your house off, you're within 24 or 48 hours of doing it. But in the meantime, you're making a lot of interest instead of just wasting the money. So I hope you guys maybe have to listen to this one a few times. Just remember this. What a dollar could get you in 1971 would now cost you over $8 to buy. The same thing in 1971 that cost $1 now costs over $8. Do not save your money for years or decades and think you're going to be okay. You're not. Your money must work for you because your money is becoming less valuable every day in this economy that we live in. Okay, that's it for this week. I hope you guys got your mind wrapped around this. Go ask a lot of questions. Go put the time in because you guys, if you're here listening to this podcast, you need to have a plan, and the plan needs to be clear in order if you're going to be free financially. All right. So this is just one of those steps. One of the pieces is being smart with your money and how you save it. All right. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.